All right, welcome everybody. My name is Nicole Bostel. I'm the Director of Communications at STEM School Highlands Ranch. And today's session, we're going to be focusing on the STEM experience, and that is going to cover our enrichment programming, before and after school care that's run for our secondary students, our athletics, and then we'll also talk a little bit about athletics boosters. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Ryan Alsop. He is our new high school director and our athletic director, and he'll be available to answer any questions. So let me go ahead and get my presentation pulled up, and then that way I can start sharing my screen. Okay. It always works better when you've got two monitors, and I'm just on my laptop today. So with that, hopefully everybody can see my screen. And let's go to present mode. Awesome. All right, so today's session, and that's our final one of the week, is called the STEM experience. So Enrichment at STEM is the place students can find all of the school's after school, summer, and other enrichment offerings. They are pretty unique to our school, so we do open them up to other folks from around different school districts, and as far as up north and south and all around us, they can take part in that enrichment program. So we have clubs and art, athletics, robotics, technology, and a variety of other special interests. On our enrichment page on the website, which you can find right here, it's in the top menu bar. It's called the STEM experience, and then you'll see a drop down that says enrichment. There you can find all of our current enrichment opportunities. Our enrichment coordinator is Sarah Phelps, and you can reach out to her with any questions that you have, as well as if you'd like to become a mentor, a club leader, start a club, and more. So as I mentioned, enrichment registration is on the website, and I have a slide that will show you elementary, middle, and high school offerings that we currently have. We encompass grades K through 12. Elementary programs are typically broken up into 4 sessions throughout the year, whereas middle and high school tend to be a little bit more seasonal or year-round for one thing. Signups are still available, and as teachers return to school, we'll continue to add more if they've decided to sign up for a program or start one. So just continue to take a look at that website. You'll see new links pop up, and in addition to that, we'll be putting it into the weekly newsletter. So just take a look at that as well. And again, if you don't see anything that you're interested in, please reach out to start a program. So these are our current offerings broken up by our elementary, middle, and high school. And so you'll see some of our programs that go year round. On our middle school side, we have Best Robotics, we have Cyber Patriots, we have First Robotics in high school. And so those are our traditional clubs that we have every single year. So as soon as they get up and running, these links will start to populate, and you can see on the elementary side, we already have some for ballet, chess, fencing, film shorts. That's a new one this year. Hip hop, kids stage. There's a yoga one, and eventually we'll have the morning announcements club that kids can sign up for. So now a little bit about before and after school care. So if you were here with us last year, this program was on hold due to COVID and due to the fact that we did not have an employee that was able to assist with this both in the morning and the afternoon. And so heading into the school year, we will be offering this again. So we're super excited. This is for secondary students. So that's students in grades middle and high. There's no need to sign in. It is drop-in. However, you do need to pay for it. Okay, and I have a slide on how you can do that here in just a second. These programs are in the middle school cafeteria, which are on the entrance is on the west side of the building. Okay, they're only offered on days when school is in session. And so this is where there might be a little bit of a difference between the base program that's offered through Douglas County and our before and after school care. Base operates separately from STEM, although they are in our STEM building. So they will have offerings for elementary school students that do differ from secondary students. So our morning times are from 7 to 7:30. The cost for that is $2. Our afternoon times are from 3 to 6, and the cost for that is $8. After 6 o'clock, there is $1 a minute charge because we do have to pay the person that is running our after school care program, and that would be going outside of their contracted times. So we really try to encourage our families to show up on time. That way they don't get charged that late fee. Okay. So you will pay for your before and after school care through what's called Smart Care Child Platform. Ms. Phelps can help you get that set up if you don't already have an account, but there's the link to that in this presentation, which we'll PDF and we'll post to the website. Additionally, these links are on the enrichment page, so you can get access to that right away if needed. The direct line during hours to Ms. Phelps is that number right there, and you can also email her as well. So now we're going to jump into Spartan Athletics. This is our high school director and athletic director, Ryan Alsop, and he just joined us this summer. So we're very excited to have him as part of the team. Athletics is for students in grades 9 through 12, and we have a variety of sports here at STEM. If we don't have it, it is something that your student would be interested in starting, there are ways to start athletic programs at STEM. However, it is a little bit more of a process because we are officially part of CHASA, which is the Colorado High School Athletics and Activities Association, if I have all of those, all of that correct.
Close enough.
Close enough. Thank you. And so we do have the ability to add sports teams, but they have to be a part of CHASA in order to be part of our athletic department. Now, if you're looking for a non-CHASA sponsored athletic team, that could be run through our enrichment program. And so I'd reach out to Ms. Sarah Phelps for that. She is looking, there is interest to do a middle school cross country team. And so she is currently looking for a coach for that one. And so we do have the opportunity to add. So registration for our fall sports is currently active and live. You can find the link on our athletic page, and it's also included here. You do go through a platform called Sports Engine, and that's how you can register for the fall sports. A physical is required to participate, and you would submit that to our athletic director or your coach prior to the start of practice. You can find the physical form on our website, on our athletics website. These are the sports that we currently offer in fall, winter, and spring. We did have a cheer and spirit team. However, we need to see if there's still interest in that going into kind of our sort of non-COVID year, as we would say for right now. If there is interest, then we will provide information on how students can get involved in that. But on the left-hand side, you can see we have boys soccer, co-ed cross country, girls volleyball, and boys golf that will be starting here very soon. I believe boys golf has already started, and the rest of these teams will start on Monday. So these are our coaches this year. If you were looking at our website earlier this week, you will notice that there are some minor changes to who our coaches are, and that's because our teachers are just back this week. And so we are working through all the logistics of getting our fall sports going. So for boys soccer, we have Daniel Ray. For cross country, we have Chris Smith. Volleyball, we have Megan Light. And boys golf, we have Peter O'Connell. And I'll just talk real quick about our Athletics Booster Club, as this is my last slide. So this is being run by one of our amazing parents, Mary Perkins. And the Booster Club is a support organization for all CHASA sanctioned athletics and activities. So they are a group of dedicated volunteers. I would recommend that you reach out to Mary Perkins if you'd like to get more information on how to get involved. You can see all the programs that CHASA supports as far as a booster club via that link. And then they are looking for volunteers. And as you can see, there are various different positions. So reach out to Mary if you have more questions about that. And they want to try and get a parent representative from each of our sports or activities that we currently have at STEM that is CHASA sponsored. So a lot of exciting stuff happening with athletics and great ways for you to get involved. And with that, that is my last slide. I'm going to stop sharing. And I see we already have one question in the chat box. And let me see, if sports begin on Monday, where do we get info on when, where, etc.? I have 2 students signed up for fall sports. So what, actually, before I jump into that question, I just wanted to check with Mr. Alsop to see if I missed anything in the presentation that he would like to add.
Actually did a really good job with the presentation, so thank you very much for that. So, you know, I got to tell you, as a new person to the school, I'm really excited about the fact that the school has started going down the pathway with the CHASA certification and being able to offer the athletics and activities. You know, I just have always believed strongly that it helps. You know, for the kids that are interested in that, it gives them that kind of well-rounded approach. Our education that many of them often seek. So thank you for that. We have obviously a very small list of athletics at this time. You know, so we do hope to grow the program. And so the way we will do that, and I'll use girls basketball, for example. So if you look at the winter, we only have boys basketball, but we don't have girls basketball. In the past, it's my understanding we've had an interest survey, and we just didn't have enough girls interested to play. However, we'll probably, you know, we're going to put that interest survey out again here in the next month or so to see if there's enough girls that are interested in playing, and then if there are, then we start developing that team. So, you know, we definitely want to grow. We want to make sure we're meeting the needs of our kids, and you know, in doing everything that we can to just help them with that experience. So, but anyway, thanks for that presentation. As far as the question that was asked, I put the answer in the chat, but coaches are getting their rosters. They got them last night for those that have already signed up. And so when the parents sign up through Sports Engine, you also give your email address and contact information. So coaches are going to use that to reach out and tell people this is where practice is going to be and that type of thing. So first practice is on Monday for everything except for golf. Golf was last Monday, but this, you know, so everything else is coming up this week. That being said, if you know, kids register late, we'll, you know, within reason, obviously, we would definitely want to take them. We want to make sure the kids have an opportunity to be involved. So as far as fields, and you know, for those of you that are new to STEM, we don't have athletic facilities here yet. We are building a gym, which will open in 2 years. That'll be nice. But so we work with you know, the Highlands Ranch Park and Rec District and do, you know, and get fields that way. We generally use Panorama, which is just up the street from us for gym space. And so that's, you know, so there's some scheduling pieces there that we're finalizing now, which is the other reason why you may not have heard from coaches yet, is we just received our schedule as far as field availability from the Park and Rec District just the other day. So we're getting all of that put together. Last thing I would say is that if any parent, if any of your kids do participate in athletics, there's some CHASA requirements that we have, and one of those is that we have a parent meeting. So instead of having an individual parent meeting per team, we'll have a parent meeting for all fall sports, where we'll go over the CHASA guidelines and just give you a better idea of what that is. And we'll talk about like the eligibility requirements, and we talk about honestly, the big issue with CHASA right now, and it's actually even beyond high school athletics, it's all the way down in the youth leagues. They're struggling with officials. They're struggling getting officials. And so we have to talk to people about sportsmanship and that kind of stuff, so the officials want to keep working our games. So, but those are the things that I'll talk in more detail with in a parent meeting once you know, those kids are signed up. So
thank you so much.
I think that's everything. Yeah.
There's one more question about CHASA has tennis listed as well. Any plans to have a tennis team? So if we wanted to do one in middle school, we could do that through, you would reach out to Miss Sarah Phelps, and see if she can get an interest form out to middle school students to do a middle school tennis team. On the high school side, we would reach out, Mr. Alsop would send out an interest form to high school students to see if there's an interest for a tennis team. And I did hear somebody speaking about this the other day, how they dropped their student off to summer tennis, and they noticed that there were probably about 10 other STEM students in the same tennis class or tennis club. And so it could be something that we add. In addition to interest form, we also have to have a coach that goes along with it. Those are just the two basic things. And then what comes after that are the logistics pieces. So Mr. Alsop can, or I'm just going to go ahead and say Ryan from here on out, because it's easier for me.
No, that's okay.
Still in summer mode right now. So the logistics sides of things would be facility, location for practices, and then next piece would be the scheduling. So reaching out to who we could play and making sure, I believe we are in the Confluence League, and reaching out to those teams that are with us in the Confluence League to see who has tennis, and then we would compete against them. And if not, then who else would we compete against? So there's a lot that goes into it. I don't know if it's something that we could get up and running right away because of all of these additional pieces, but definitely something that is on Ryan's radar right now.
Well, and if I could add one more piece to that, the beauty of the way it works in CHAS is that if we don't offer a sport, a student can go and play at the neighborhood school, right? So, for example, football. I don't know that we will offer football anytime in the future. We might, but if a kid wants to play football, they can go to any of the Highlands Ranch area schools and play football. I mean, in the only so you can do that with any sport as long as it's not offered at your home school, which we would be the home school. So for tennis, you can definitely do that. I will tell you the timeline gets kind of strange when we're offering new sports because basically what happens, and I don't want to get too much in the monotony of it and bore you guys to death, but essentially when you commit to a league, it's a 2-year commitment. So meaning that we call them cycles. And so this is an odd year, this is an off cycle year. Next year we start with a new cycle. And so then it's hard, like you can get a team started, but it may take 2 years to get them in the league. So I would definitely, if students are want to be involved in sports that we don't offer, you can still talk to me about it. I can even put you in contact with the athletic directors of the schools that you may be looking at. Swimming would be another one. I know some of our kids swim, but we don't have a swim team here. But I know we have kids that go and swim at like Highlands Ranch, for example. So there's definitely options that way too. I want to make sure the kids are involved, even if we don't offer it.
So there's a question in the chat box. Cross country is provisional this year for STEM under CHASA guidelines. Please explain what that means, and can a student compete in the state championship next meet?
Okay, so that provisional means that we are not fully in CHASA yet. So let me back up a second. A minute ago, I just talked about the 2-year cycle. The problem is we were inducted in, or we were approved to enter CHASA in the middle of that 2-year cycle, right? So this is, so we got approved midway through last year or whenever we got approved. And so then this year, we're still provisional because it's within that 2-year cycle. So this year we're in the Foothills League, which is another group, is a group of schools that are in the same boat as we are, and we'll play each other. But as far as state and those types of things, you have to be fully into CHASA, which will occur for us next school year. So with that in mind, like I don't want to necessarily advertise this too much. However, if there's a student, if one of your students are seniors and they want to they think and they could potentially qualify for state and let's say cross country, they're welcome to go out for a different cross country team. They don't have to come out for ours, because we're provisional, and that would give them that opportunity to be able to qualify for state. Actually, any student right now, because we're provisional, can try out for a different team in a different school. The problem for them would be is that next year, when we're no longer provisional, they would have to come back to us. So that's where some kids get kind of hung up is that, well, wait a minute, I made varsity on that team last year. What do you mean I have to come back to STEM? Well, CHSA requires that they would come back when we're no longer provisional. So, but something to keep in mind, if you have that highly competitive student, you can go to a different school for this current year. It just wouldn't happen for next year if we offer the sport.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
I believe so. We do have not a question, but support for wrestling. So maybe something that we could consider going into this school year or within the next month is maybe sending out a survey to our families with a list of the CHSA sports that we don't offer to see what kind of interest there is in some of those other sports. So,
yep. And I think that's great. In wrestling, just to kind of plug this real quick. Wrestling the last couple of years is they've started offering girls wrestling as their own league. So you can have boys and girls wrestling now. It used to be that if a girl really wanted to wrestle, they had to try out for the boys team, but they've had girls state and everything else. So it's I think there's some exciting opportunities there too for both boys and girls if they wanted to do something like that. So but yeah, we could definitely see what's out there. I mean, there is a juggling piece. So, and I know that Nicole, you mentioned that before, but we also have to be aware of facilities and our ability to get facilities for practices because we don't have any of our own right now. So, so that would be part of the decision. It's like we may have the kids, but if I can't find a place to practice, for example, marching band is so just so you know, CHSA is Colorado High School Activities Association. So it's athletics and activities, and things like marching band and other competitive activities also fall under CHSA. But marching band is hard because you need a full-size football field, and most high schools aren't willing to rent theirs out because it's their marching band and football season. So, there's some things that I'd love to offer but we may be constrained by field availability.
Well, that's all really good to know because I didn't know that particular piece. Okay, so do we have any anticipated dates for after school clubs becoming active for registration in middle school, or should we just continue to check the links? So I would say one of two, well, we'll start with one of two ways to answer that. The first one is always check the website because things will get updated midweek. And then the second is that I put everything into the parent newsletter that goes out on Fridays. And so if it is an enrichment update or an activity for enrichment, I add it for elementary school, I add it to the elementary school news and update section of the parent newsletter. Okay. And then if it's related to secondary, then it goes in their section of the newsletter. So we always try and cross promote on multiple platforms. And so website, because you can check that during the week, or the weekly parent newsletter that goes out on Fridays will be the other place where you can find sign up links for new ones that are open. And the reason why it's difficult it's slower at the start of the year is that we're just getting, if you can imagine, new teachers just started this Monday, returning teachers started Wednesday. Prior to that, they were not doing any work for STEM, or they weren't expected to do any work outside of their contracted hours for STEM. Okay, so a lot of them are right now, they are in their classrooms setting up, they're also going through orientation, and they are setting up their online, coursework, in Canvas. And so there's a lot that they're trying to get done on the logistics side. As they start to dig out of all of that, they will then start to think about, oh, I want to do this club and I want to think about this. So more stuff will populate next week and the week after and the week after that, because that's when teachers are starting to think about cool clubs and activities that they want to start or that they want to take over. We also have a list that's provided from Ms. Phelps to the teachers as to which clubs we need advisors for. And so teachers are signing up for those over the next week and a half. So just be on the lookout for that. Is there a list of possible schools/sports that we can look at? And I think this was in reference to kind of the previous discussion that when Ryan was talking about sports that are not currently offered here, but offered at other schools. And so what I would recommend is that you reach out to Ryan if there is an interest that you have, or maybe you're wondering, like, these 5 sports STEM doesn't offer, do you know other schools where it's offered in the area? And he can help with that. Now, as far as other CHASA sports, I believe I shared that link in the presentation, or there's on that Booster Club page, there was that link to the CHASA list of sports and activities that you could look at as well to see what other sports CHASA approves, that maybe if we don't offer, then you at least have a list to look at for another school. So I am all caught up for our questions in the chat box. And so if you have any other ones, please let us know. Ryan and I are here to answer your questions, both about after school care, enrichment, athletics. You can unmute yourself and ask it live, or you can type it in the chat box, either one. We're here for you for up until 1 o'clock.
I have a question for Ryan.
Sure, go ahead.
Ryan, my son has membership in USATF. Does the school have any issues, or the athletics department, with him participating in USATF events in addition to his cross country, if he was to be in the cross country team?
I will have to double check the CHASA bylaws, but I don't think there's any issues there. When are his events for USATF? When does that happen?
Usually I would think late October, November, in that range.
Okay.
We're not looking anywhere closer than that.
I guess maybe I need to, if you don't mind telling me, I'm not familiar with what that acronym is. What is that?
US Track and
I'm assuming it's, hello. I'm just drawing blank here. No, it shouldn't be an issue. It used to be CHASA used to just really ratchet down on all of that, but it seems like they're pretty open to those things now, as long as it doesn't conflict with the actual season, right? So, I mean, meaning that they can even do some stuff during the season as long as it doesn't, hold them out of our practices or our events. The one thing I would be just cautious of, and this is just more, and you're your kid a lot better than I do, obviously, but it's just the overtraining. So
Absolutely.
I would have a conversation with our coach and with that other coach when there is that cross between the seasons, and just make sure that that they're able to work together, so so that he's not injuring himself.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
No problem. By the way, his cross country coach is also our track coach, so you might actually try to recruit him when he talks about that. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So there's a question: which sports do you offer? And you can check out on our athletics website. Currently for fall, we have boys soccer, co-ed cross country, girls volleyball, and boys golf. Those are the current ones that we have for fall. For winter, we have boys basketball. And Ryan, you're going to have to help me with spring, because I haven't thought that far ahead yet. I know.
Okay, so with spring, we have boys. We have boys lacrosse in the spring. We have girls soccer in the spring, and then we have co-ed track also in the spring. So so we have decent offerings there in the spring as well. If your kids, if you're interested in having your kids be involved in athletics and you're not even sure which route you would go, I will tell you, just my experience has been that, like, in the fall, I have a lot of kids at most of the other schools I've been at that just if they want to run a sport just for the sake of doing it, cross country is usually one that's a pretty easy sport to get involved in. I mean, you do have to, you clearly have to like running, but it's for some kids, it's one of those things that the competitive kids can be ultra competitive in it, and the non-competitive kids don't have to be, and it's perfectly okay. And so if you're looking at something for now, I would, unless your kid is a golfer or plays soccer, cross country is not a bad option. And that's, there you go with the rest of them. So, and like I said, we always want to expand. So we'll take a look at what we can continue to expand on.
Thank you.
And then somebody had asked about which high schools to look at for sports. I will tell you that most of our Highlands Ranch area high schools offer most of the sports, right? So if you wanted to, if you were thinking that you might want let's say you have a daughter and you're thinking about basketball, I would just look at, pick the school that you would be interested in and do that. Now, the caution thing that I needed to give you from CHASA is that if you have a student that wants to participate in multiple sports, they can't go to Highlands Ranch for basketball and then go to Thunder Ridge for girls lacrosse. I mean, they have to pick a school and then participate there with whatever athletics we don't offer here. So.
Good information. I didn't know that one either. I'm learning so much today.
Well, that was a new one. Just so you guys know, I just had to do a 2-day conference with CHASA to go over all the new rules, and that was a new rule. Because CHASA, one of the things CHASA wants to do is make sure that everybody maintains competitive programs, and so they try to stop the kids that will transfer back and forth following a coach or going to to try to pick a better program. They want kids to play at their local schools. So that's why, I mean, if we don't offer, you can go someplace else, but you can't just bounce around.
Yeah. I don't see any other questions, so I wanted to just take a moment. Ryan, could you talk a little bit about your background with athletics?
Sure. So I've been in education for 20 years and or 22 years. And so when I started, I actually started teaching at Highlands Ranch High School, and I played high school football, and I was a wrestler and that kind of thing. And so I knew I wanted to coach, so I started coaching football while I was at Highlands Ranch. I coached 9th grade because that's always, that was always kind of my focal point. I liked working with the kids that were brand new. And then when I entered administration, as a high school administrator, like I went to, I was at Ponderosa and I've worked in other places. Even if you're not the athletic director, one of your big responsibilities is supervising athletics. And so I've always been involved, obviously, in the supervision of athletics and working, just watching that. But then when I went to Alaska for a few years as a principal there, and there I did have an athletic director, but it was a part-time position for that person. So I had to serve in a fairly significant role on the athletics side of things. And then when I came back to Colorado, I went to Evergreen, where I served as a principal and also as athletic director there. And it was my experience as athletic director there, where I really kind of got to know the ins and outs of CHASA and the different rules and stuff that they have. So then, I had another stop before I got here, but when I got here, and heard that, or when I saw the posting and saw also that we were trying to expand our athletics program, I felt like my entire career pathway kind of led me to this position, because I've enjoyed being a principal and I've enjoyed being an athletic director. And this is one of the few spots I know that I can do both. So that's why I'm here. And you'll hear me, for those of you, when you come and hear me talk about different things, I'll often use the word athletics, but keep in mind, and I need to change my own language around this. When I say athletics, I'm also thinking about activities. It's not just athletics for me. Like I think the performing arts classes, for example, a lot of the performing arts stuff also falls under CHASA. And I think those are just as important as, it's just as important to have a play as it is to have a soccer game. Mm-hmm. And so oftentimes people hear me say, I'm the athletics director. Really, I cover all of that. And that's, as far as the CHASA sponsored stuff. And I think that it's important, to make sure that we're meeting our kids' needs. So anyway, that's kind of my resume in a nutshell, 22 years in 2 minutes. but it's fun. And honestly, and I have 2 daughters, and my oldest daughter was a theater choir kid, and my youngest is a softball player. So I've had my 2 kids have both followed different paths too, through their athletics and activities, and both of them found it to be very important part of high school, even though they had the 4.3 GPAs. They, and went, very academic as well, but still sports and activities played a big part of their high school experience.
Thank you for that. I think that was really helpful for our new families and even our returning families to hear that, since you're so new.
Yeah, well, and I do just want to make sure you guys know that I'm a parent. So I often think of these things through the parent lens too. So so please, if you have any questions, thoughts, comments, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? You're always welcome to call me, email me. Even if you think it might sound like a silly question, it's not. Just, please reach out and ask, because there may be something we haven't thought about doing here, and maybe maybe you have that idea. And I will, if you don't mind, I know we're about out of time, but just real quickly, it doesn't fall under my purview at all, but I've been in schools where we've even had clubs where, like at Evergreen, I had a parent that was like a Wall Street investor, and he came in and we started an investment club, and we fundraised and had some seed money, and then he's teaching kids things on investing that they wouldn't have learned in high school ever. And so there's, so even if you think there's an off the wall club option, throw it out there. There may be something really cool that we can do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great
Anyway,
idea. And then we get Miss Phelps in there, and then we're coming at it from all directions.
exactly. Just want to make sure we have options for our kids.
Well, let me open it back up again. Maureen, it looks like you have another question.
I do have another question for Ryan. Sorry about that.
Oh,
That's okay.
no, you're okay.
So we're new to STEM this year and the athletics program. And with regard to the physical, I had contacted our pediatrician about this and said, well, he's in Douglas County. And so they have this Part 3 Douglas County eligibility form that they completed for us, because he had they operate off of, if you went to your annual exam where they do a full physical workup on you, then that
Yeah.
qualifies for their physical, and he did his in January. So is the Douglas County form acceptable for the physical, or should I still follow up with a pediatrician and have I guess I haven't looked at your form that's on the STEM website yet, so I don't know if it matches exactly, but should I have that form completed as well?
Here's, I'll just, unless maybe there's a rule on this, that I'm not aware of, but here's what I would say is that I would just go ahead and keep that form that you have and submit that one for us. And then, and then if the forms are different for the one that we have versus the one Douglas County has, then we can, review that when you have to renew the annual in January. So, basically we're all following, fulfilling a CHASA expectation. So, so their form should be fine. I'd actually be surprised if it was different, but yeah, I wouldn't worry about it if it is. We'll accept that one.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for your.
No problem at all. And for, just when you enter the world of athletics, you guys are going to hear a lot about, a lot of things from us as far as the physicals, obviously, but concussion protocols and a lot of other safety stuff that we put in place. But it's all coming through CHASA, so we should all be fairly unified as far as what Douglas County does, what we do, and what others do. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. The other just cautionary thing I'd put out there with this, not cautionary because we keep files and stuff, but so I don't know why I use that word. I apologize for that. But your physical is good for a year, but we will always ask for one when the new season starts, right? So we'll have them on file, but I would definitely make sure that you keep the a copy for yourself in case you need to send us send it to us again for whatever reason. Like I said, we keep them on file, but it's always good to keep that just in case.
Any other questions?
There's a new post.
Oh, just saying thank you. All
Okay.
right, well, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and give you back about 20 minutes of your day. We really appreciate you taking part and joining us today. It's recording, so I'll post this to that back to school page along with a PDF of the presentation. Remember, you can always reach out to Mr. Alsop or Brian. He can answer any of your questions. Just give him some grace and patience while he's still navigating kind of the STEM policy procedures as it comes to athletics, and then also working with CHASA. So it's kind of, he's been running 100 miles a minute there, drinking from the fire hose. And so just bear with him as he gets through everything at the start of the school year. And he's really been hands-on with our high school teachers as well, making sure that they're onboarding well and getting all of their questions answered, because there's always something new every year. And so if no other questions, I hope you all have a great day. And we can't wait to see all of your kiddos on Tuesday for the first day of school. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Can't wait to meet your kids.